Lipstick Face Demon, Red Face Demon. The Red Face Demon has to be one of the creepiest things to ever crawl out of the Insidious franchise. He's less like a ghost, and more like the kind of nightmare that scratches at your brain long after you wake up. Where did he actually come from? Total mystery. But some fans think he first popped up in the 1700s, back when carnivals were spreading through the Caribbean. And honestly, that theory kind of fits. His whole vibe screams creepy carnival act gone wrong. He's got messy tufts of hair sticking out from his head, hooves that clatter when he walks, and long razor-sharp claws he's always sharpening. Then there's that smile, crooked, jagged, and devilish, like Pennywise's evil twin who got kicked out of the circus for being too scary. His stomping ground is the Further. It is a foggy, timeless dimension where lost souls just drift around. But unlike the others, this guy isn't content with floating. Nope, he's got an appetite. He wants the living. He wants to wear people like costumes and cause as much pain as possible. That's how he ran into psychic Elise Rainier, while she was helping little Dalton Lambert, a boy who could leave his body through astral projection. To the red-faced demon, Dalton was the perfect target. But in the end, Dalton and his dad managed to slam the door on him, trapping the demon back in the Further. And there he waits, sharpening his claws, hungry for another chance. The Bride in Black. The Bride in Black is the second major antagonist in the Insidious universe, and he was once a man named Parker Crane. Parker didn't exactly get the best start in life. Born in 1920, he was raised by his mother, Michelle, who was as controlling as they come. She hated that her husband had named him Parker, so she insisted he wasn't Parker at all. He was Marilyn. She decorated his room with dolls and floral wallpaper, dressed him in wigs and gowns, and slapped him if he dared call himself by his real name. And of course, all that messed Parker up big time. Michelle's abuse went from cruel to downright dangerous, pushing him into violence. As an adult, he became a serial killer, kidnapping women while dressed in a black bridal gown and veil. The newspapers called him the Bride in Black, and he was linked to at least 15 murders. You'd think things ended when Parker died in 1986, but nope. In the Insidious movies, his ghost appears in the Further, still chained to his mother's toxic influence. There, he tries to take over Josh Lambert's body in a desperate attempt to live again. In the end, Parker's strength came from the memory of his abusive mother. Once Elise and Josh destroyed those memories in the Further, the Bride in Black finally lost his grip and faded away. The man who can't breathe. The man who can't breathe might just be the most chilling mystery in the Insidious universe. Nobody really knows his origin, but his look alone tells a story. Sickly pale, frail, and hidden behind an oxygen mask, he looks like illness turned into flesh. Since oxygen tanks only showed up in the 1800s, this version of him is fairly modern, but it's possible he's been around much longer, shifting his appearance over time. Unlike the red-faced demon who uses his carnival-like look to lure kids, this entity feeds on pity. He appears weak, dying, or even familiar, which tricks people into letting their guard down. His territory is the Fleur-de-Lis apartments, where he's been collecting souls for decades. But instead of stealing bodies, he drags the living into the shadows of the Further, trapping them in endless misery. His weapon isn't claws or teeth, it's despair. He whispers hopelessness until his victims finally give in. That's how he preyed on Quinn Brenner after her mother's death, twisting her grief until she nearly handed over her soul. But Quinn wasn't alone. Her mother's spirit came back and gave her the strength to fight. In a final act of defiance, Quinn tore off his oxygen mask, releasing the stolen life he had been feeding on. Defeated, he faded into the darkness, where, for now, he still waits. KeyFace, Key-Bearer Demon.
Let them go.
KeyFace has been hanging around Dubin State Penitentiary since at least 1953, but chances are he showed up way earlier, back when the place first started executing prisoners in the late 1800s. The ground was already soaked in fear and death, the perfect stage for a demon to move in. Now, KeyFace isn't the type to steal bodies like the red-faced demon. His thing is worse. He collects souls and keeps them locked up in endless cells inside the Further, and his look, totally designed to trick his victims. With greasy hair and skeleton-thin arms tipped with keys, he looks like he could be the guy to let prisoners out. But the second you trust him, he turns those keys on you, locking your throat, your heart, and your freedom. Elise Rainier first met him as a kid. She was tricked into opening a door, and that mistake cost her mom's life. From then on, KeyFace drove her father into cruelty, and used every victim's soul as another prisoner in his ghostly jail. Years later, he came after Elise again, targeting her nieces. But with help from her mother's spirit, Elise fought back. Light burned him away, leaving him trapped in the further, furious and waiting. The Ghoul, the long-haired fiend. The Ghoul, better known as the long-haired fiend, is one of those spirits from the further that just gives you the creeps instantly. He doesn't look like a demon straight out of hell. He looks more like some shady guy who lived a nasty life, died, and then carried all that evil with him into the afterlife. His face looks half-rotted, his hair hangs down in greasy strands, and he wears a long black trench coat like he's trying way too hard to be scary. We first see him in the original Insidious. He slips into Dalton's room, clearly up to something bad, but bolts the second Josh walks in. Later, while Dalton is trapped under the red-faced demon's control, the Ghoul takes things further and tries to go after Renai. Thankfully, Elise steps in and forces the demon out, which makes the Ghoul back off too, but he doesn't stay gone. In Insidious, Chapter 2, he shows up again for a few quick jump scares, and at the very end of Chapter 3, he's back once more, reminding us that he's still out there. The Ghoul has never been defeated. He hasn't been trapped, destroyed, or locked away. He's still out there in the further, pacing around in his trench coat, waiting for another chance to cause chaos. The Doll Girl Demon. The Doll Girl is one of the creepiest ghosts in the Insidious series, and what makes her so disturbing is how simple her story is. She's not some powerful demon chasing after people. She's just a teenage girl stuck in the further with her family. The catch? They're forced to replay the moment of their violent deaths over and over again. When Josh wanders into the further, he finds a version of his house, and inside is this perfect 1950s-looking family. At first, they seem normal, just sitting in the living room, but the longer he watches, the more wrong it feels. In the dining room, Josh spots the doll girl at the table with a gun in her hand. She doesn't talk. She doesn't even move at first. Then, out of nowhere, gunshots echo through the house. Suddenly, she's back in the living room, smiling eerily as her family lies dead around her. That smile is what makes the doll girl so unforgettable. It almost feels like she's enjoying the horror she's created. Before Josh leaves, the family appears one last time, all smiling together, as if their tragedy is stuck on loop, ready to play out again for the next unlucky visitor. Dark-haired woman. The dark-haired woman doesn't get much screen time in Insidious, Chapter 2, but when she shows up, she knows how to freak you out. First, she whispers, "Help me," through a tin can phone, like she's bored and looking for drama. Then she casually steps out of the closet, wrapped in a bedsheet like she got caught mid-nap during haunting hours. She's got that classic ghost look, pale skin, stringy black hair, deadpan stare, and not a single line of dialogue. But somehow, that makes it worse. She just stands there, staring like she's judging your life choices. She doesn't chase anyone or try to possess them. She doesn't need to. Her presence alone is enough to remind you that the further is packed with sad and eerie souls who never got closure. The Crawling Demon. The Crawling Demon doesn't need a big entrance to mess with your head. He slips into Insidious, the red door during one of the film's most nerve-wracking scenes, when Josh is stuck inside an MRI machine. As he starts to lose consciousness, a pale figure in a hospital gown begins crawling toward him in stiff, jerky movements. It's the kind of image that burns into your mind. His look is simple, but terrifying. Sickly pale skin, a flimsy hospital gown, and that unsettling crawl, too distorted to feel human. There's no backstory, dialogue, or anything to explain him. But in the Conjuring universe, the demons don't hide in mystery. They want you to know exactly who they are and why you should be afraid. Meet them all in every demon in the Conjuring universe. Explained in just 10 minutes.